Very early New York Jets 53-man roster prediction, or maybe not so early as we are 10 days away from the preseason opener. Summer going by fast. Now, starting with quarterbacks, I think that the Jets are going to go with two quarterbacks in Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor. So for these slides, the names in white will be guys who I have making the team right now. The names in green, guys who are worth mentioning as potential practice squad or battling for position spots. Now, Fields and Tyrod Taylor are both locks to make the team. Fields QB1, Tyrod Taylor is their primary backup. And then Brady Cook to me would be, if they're going to keep a third quarterback, they'd keep their UDFA most likely over somebody like Adrian Martinez, but you could probably just keep all those guys on the practice squad and just roster the two quarterbacks. That's what I imagine that the Jets will do. Offensive line, 10 up here, with the starters from left to right being Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tipman, Elijah Vera Tucker, rookie Armand Membu, the primary veteran reserves, and Josh Myers, backup center, Chooks Orokafor, backup tackle. Now, with those two, Myers has only played center in college and in the NFL. Orokafor, vast majority of his reps at right tackle, played left tackle a bit for the Patriots last year, got beat so bad he quit on the team. So you really want it's not really like I wouldn't call Orokafor a swing tackle. Maybe they have him as their primary backup left tackle, but to me, you got Myers as the backup center, Orokafor as the backup right tackle, and then you kind of need some other spots because of the lack of positional versatility with your top two veteran backups, and that's where guys like Carter Warren comes in, backup left tackle. Xavier Newman comes in, backup left guard and right guard. And then I think Max Mitchell would probably be that player who he does have four position versatility. Now, he's not really good at any of them. So I think Max Mitchell in this scenario is probably inactive on the rare days when this unit is entirely healthy, but he's your break glass in case of emergency, number 10 offensive lineman. A couple of guys worth mentioning: Cole Laveo, who's the guy from the UFL they picked up last year and kept in the practice squad, and then Leander Wiegand, who is the kid out of Germany who they do have that international exemption for, where they can keep an extra player on the practice squad. So Wiegand will almost assuredly be on the practice squad. Don't have him making the 53 in this one, though. Wide receiver, six of them. So the locks to me are Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, and Arian Smith. Beyond that, it's anyone's game. Right now, I'm going to go with Alan Lazard, the veteran, Tyler Johnson, the veteran who they picked up, and then Xavier Gibson, because there's really hardly any punt return competition. If you look at their depth chart on the punt returners, it is the guys who have gotten work at punt return are Gibson, Andre Cisco, and Jamal Pritchett. So to me, it's either Gibson or Pritchett is going to win that sixth or seventh wide receiver job / punt returner job there. So right now, I guess I'll give the nod to Gibson. He has experience returning punts. I think I've been pretty underwhelmed with Gibson as a receiver and a punt returner. So we'll see if they get anybody else some work bringing back punts. But as of right now, those would be the six for me. Malachi Corley, I hope he makes it, man, just because, again, it's not like this is the deepest wide receiver room in the NFL. And he has to have some talent in order to be drafted where he was, essentially late second round, is what they spent to get him, trading up to this first pick of the third round. You know, he was a top 50 player on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. It's not like he was some guy nobody heard of that the Jets completely reached on. But at the same time, man, if he's not running routes the way they need him to, and he's not contributing on special teams, Aaron Glenn and Darren Mushi can't really care that he was drafted high by the previous people. That's not their problem. They got to go with who they think is going to give them the best shot to win. And if that's Tyler Johnson, so be it. But, again, with Corley, he's a player you have under contract for the next 3 years for negligible cap dollars, who's 23 years old. So, and you don't have a wide receiver room that's really that deep at all. So if they could find a way to keep him, I would like them to. But as of right now, if I was putting my money on it, I'd probably bet that he is not on the team. And then, but he is worth keeping an eye on. I mean, but if he can't make the Jets wide receiver room, maybe you could get him to the practice squad. I know former draft pick NFL teams are going to covet that, but if you're not cracking the bottom of this room, respectfully, this is a below average wide receiver room in terms of depth. So I don't know. Maybe you could get him on the practice squad. Brandon Smith, contested catch, expert, had a great preseason last year. So those would be the three names to keep an eye on. And again, it's probably Pritchard or Gibson for that final spot slash punt return duty. Tight end, 4 here, Mason Taylor, Jeremy Ruckert, Andrew Beck. I think those three are probably locks. And if they're going to keep a fourth, I'd go with Stone Smart. You know, Andrew Beck has played fullback, he's played tight end. So I would say he has a really good shot to play a decent role on this team, special teams, tight end, and fullback. So those three different things he does. Ruckert, yeah, again, who else? Who else is beating these guys out? And then Stone Smart, a guy they picked up who maybe they see some wide receiver traits in, although he's not really giving you much blocking wise. He is essentially a big slot receiver. Beck has been a solid blocker. Rucker, his blocking was his forte coming out of Ohio State, has not been untapped yet. Maybe Tanner Engstrom and company can get something more out of Rucker in terms of the blocking game. And then Zach Kuntz, we'll mention him. But tight end was pretty easy for me unless they're adding somebody. If it's 3, I think it's going to be Taylor, Beck, and Ruckert. If it's 4, I think Smart would probably be the 4th guy. Did I skip running back? I think I forgot to type running back in, but running back is super easy for me too. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, 3 running backs with Donovan Edwards being the name to look out for in the running back room. But I don't think they need to keep roster a 4th running back. I think you could put Edwards on the practice squad, keep those 3 running backs active on game day. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, I have them keeping 10 on both sides in the trenches. We know the locks are Quinn Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Tyler Barron. And then from there, I think Byron Cowart probably figures to be your quote unquote starting defensive tackle next to Quinn Williams. And Clemens, yeah, again, Gibson, Clemens, Lazard. I hear you. These aren't names that we love to hear, but I'm just going by what the early signs are from camp. You know, Aaron Glenn has spoke very highly of Clemens' physical tools and his strength, and there just isn't a ton of depth at edge. Michael Clemens has a good amount of NFL experience relative to the peers on this roster. He has some of the prototypical physical size traits that Aaron Glenn likes in his defensive ends. I'm not super optimistic that at his age he can all of a sudden figure out how to play football, but we'll see. We'll see. Derek Nottie, rotational run stuffer. You know, he got out of all the defensive tackles they signed, he got the most guaranteed money. Eric Watts, all the things that Coach Glenn likes about Michael Clemens, I think he'll like about Eric Watts, but I actually thought on a smaller sample size last year that Watts was more effective than Clemens, particularly against the run. Now he didn't give you much at all as a pass rusher, but I thought Watts was a good edge setting, run defending edge last season and limited opportunities that he got. Leonard Taylor should be back. He flashed as a potential situational interior pass rusher. So right out Watts, Taylor, and then rounding it off with Peyton Page. It's guys who can do one thing or the other. Peyton Page, UDFA, coming out of Clemson, I have making it as a 1 tech, and then some guys worth mentioning. Jay Tefele, who they brought in as a free agent coming over from Cincinnati. You know, I watched a bit of tape on all their free agents, and hey, maybe I don't know what I'm looking at, but Jay Tefele looked absolutely horrible to me. So I don't see him making the team. I thought Byron Cowart was pretty decent, to be honest. Fatoma Molba is another UDFA who's a run stuffer. So him and Peyton Page, tomato, wherever they want to go there. And then Rashad Weaver, who they brought in early as an edge rusher, would be the 3 names to look out for on the defensive line, who I did not have making the team. Linebacker is pretty easy, straightforward to me. Quincy Williams, Damian Sherwood, Kiko Malagoa, we know are locks to make the team. Your 2 starters and your 5th round draft pick. And then I'll go with Jamin Davis, who they brought back and has played some edge. So maybe Jamin Davis is a player they feel like they can go 1 less at edge and keep somebody else at a different spot. Zaire Barnes, might be the end of the road for him. Pour one out for Zaire Barnes. And then Marcelino McCrary Ball, probably both kind of practice squad bound players at this point. Cornerback, going with 6. Locks, I mean, the locks are really, to me, all the way from Sauce down to Isaiah Oliver. Sauce, Brandon Stevens, Michael Carter, your starters. AC Thomas, third round pick, probably going to be the primary backup boundary corner. Isaiah Oliver, he's played corner and safety. He was a starting nickel corner in Steve Wilkes' defense in 2023 for an entire season. So he's a veteran who's got versatility and familiarity with the defensive coordinator. So I think he is probably going to make the team. And then flip a coin for Quantez Stiggers or Jarrett Bernard Converse. Maybe if they think that Bernard Converse can play safety, maybe that helps him out. But had to pick one there, and I went with Stiggers over JBC. Four safeties, Andre Cisco and Malachi Moore, both locks. I'll go with Tony Adams. They brought him back for non-negligible money, and so I think he'll probably be one of the primary backups. And then Jarius Monroe, UDFA from last year. Dean Clark, UDFA, sub 4.40 at 210 pounds, UDFA from Boise State. Worth noting him as well. Special teams, 4 special teamers. Nick Folk, I'll have him beating out the thicker kicker. Austin McNamara, only punter on the roster. He's going to be here. Thomas Hennessy, he's going to be here. And then pick one or the other between Chris Boyd and Irv Charles. I don't know if you want to roster 2 of those guys who give you nothing as a position player, but play special teams. So Chris Boyd has played under Chris Banjo as special team coordinator. They brought him over right away. So I'll have him getting a nod due to the familiarity with the coaching staff. That is the 53-man roster prediction here on July 29th. We're not too far away. We are officially in, 53-man roster prediction season. And if you get to your comments, if you appreciate the video, if you want to hit the thumbs up, that would be cool. Do you think Lazard can drop his way off the depth chart? Heard he already had a bad drop. Yeah, I don't. Again, I understand he's been productive in the NFL. He's got some experience. I know he can block pretty well, but at the same time, the drops are such a killer, man. And I don't know what the benefit is. Like, if they cut him, to me, it's no loss. It's no loss to Lazard. If they keep him, that's fine too. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, if he's still demonstrating the drop C's, I don't know. Like Arian Smith, they're hoping they can teach him how to catch as a rookie. That's one thing, but Lazard has been in the NFL 5 years. He just can't. He's not going to suddenly figure out how to catch, right? And it's even kind of a stretch to think they can teach Arian Smith how to catch as a rookie, right? That's kind of like you're crossing your fingers, but Lazard, it's just not going to happen. It is what it is, right? And he'll make some nice catches. He makes some back contested catches, back shoulder stuff. But I think Josh Reynolds can kind of do that with a better catch percentage. Oh, I should have listed Braden McGregor on the defensive line as names to look out for. Yes, good catch there. Yeah, he could squeeze in there as the 10th guy for sure. Yeah, Zaire Barnes, my guy. Maybe he'll make it. We don't know. Our corner room honestly still looks pretty good. I think corner is probably the second best position group on the team right now, in my opinion, besides offensive line. Because corner was one of the few spots where I cut a player that I thought was actually hard to cut, and that was JBC. Other rooms at the bottom of the other rooms, it was like, wasn't too many hard pills to swallow. But JBC, yeah, I think he's got some potential. I actually see the rookie being the other starting cornerback. I don't see Stevens being able to handle the job. It's definitely possible. I would imagine that the Jets making Stevens a priority signing and giving him 2 years of guaranteed money, I think they're going to have to see him fail on the season in the regular season before they pull the plug. Unless Azariah Thomas looks like prime Darrelle Revis in the preseason and camp, I think they're going to give the veteran a shot. Because if AZ Thomas starts, that's awesome. Third round pick starting. Again, we haven't had a third round pick be a multiple year starter since Jordan Jenkins. We haven't had a fourth round pick be a multiple year starter since Bilal Powell. So those 2 rounds have been historically anemic for, a long, long time for the Jets. But that would make Brandon Stevens like the highest paid backup corner in NFL history. And kind of a waste of money, right? Want to see if Cisco does some special teams. Well, he had been returning punts. He was with the 3 or 4 guys who were getting work as punt returners last week. Let me check has he played special teams in the past? Yeah, actually quite a bit. So his rookie year, he played 70% of special teams reps, and then once he became like a starting player full time, 34% in 2022, 33% in 2023. So it tells me he has like one. I wonder what was he a gunner? 33, 1/3 of the reps those 2 years. So he must do one job on one unit. Malachi Moore will be the week 1 starting safety. I would agree with that. I think he will start over Tony Adams. Why not? Where is Will Hardy? Oh, Justin Hardy? I don't know. Mainly worried about the run defense. Yeah, I would say just based on the personnel they have, I would say it's reasonable to be more confident. Um, what my brain just froze. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, I think it's more confident to be more reasonable to be more confident on the pass defense than the run defense, just based on personnel. Uh, Malachi Moore hopefully could change that because I think that will be the concern of Tony Adams starting next to Cisco. I think that would leave both of your safeties as below average run defenders. And then the lack of a true, run stuffing one tech that you're confident can play a prominent role, right? Because Derek Natty's been that guy. He's fallen off recently. So yeah, but I think the pass defense, I mean, you do have like Quinnen and McDonald alone are a pretty good pass rush tandem in terms of the production. Those two guys can give you close to probably what 17, 18 sacks and 125 pressures just between those two guys. You need one more guy to step up, whether that's Jermaine coming back strong from the injury or Barron or Leonard Taylor. You need one more guy on your pass rush front to step up because that was the case last year when Jermaine went down. They were just one dude short, and Quinnen and Will couldn't do it on their own. Oh yeah, running backs. I just forgot to add on the slide, but they were Brees Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. Pretty chalk for the running backs. 3. Josh Reynolds is pretty much the second wide receiver from a video I saw on the Jets YouTube channel. Yeah, I would pencil him in as quote unquote wide receiver 2. My hope is that Mason Taylor is so dang good and that Brees Hall is back in form that Brees Hall and Mason Taylor are second and third in targets among the entire pass catching unit, and Josh Reynolds is fourth in target share, because you can call him wide receiver 2 either way, but if Josh Reynolds is your second weapon or Josh Reynolds is your fourth weapon, that is two very different things. If Josh Reynolds is your second weapon, you have a bad weaponry, just straight up. That's probably the one area of this team on that is just has me not predicting them to win a ton of games, because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Coach Glenn. I'm bought in, man. I'm ready to be heard again. I just believe in him. That's really all it comes down to. When he talks, I believe in him. That's it. That's my high level analysis on Coach Glenn. So I'm in. I'm down. Let's do it. But and I think there are some floor raising things about this team. The fact that you do have a recent all pro on every level of your defense, plus a 10 sack edge, plus another edge who we know is good, plus some good starters in Jamie and Sherwood, Michael Carter, some solid starters like Andre Sisco. It's not like that's a bunch of bums. And the fact that Fields is going to chip into your rushing, you're going to have a highly productive rushing offense with Fields and the running back room. And I think the pass protection is going to be pretty good. Like, those are a lot of things to be confident about. But in the NFL in 2025, like, dude, in order to be a good team, you have to have at least a moderate volume, like, plus efficiency passing game. You have to. Every good team, even like the Eagles, and that's with like the best supporting cast in NFL history. How many yards did Jalen Hurts throw for? Um, in a full season that he's played 17 games, the lowest amount what's the lowest amount he's thrown for, So there's always outliers, but suffice to say, like, you got to be throwing for 3,600 yards, you know. Um, you got to be completing high 60% of your passes. So that's the one thing with this team, that it's like it's third and tens, picking up first downs. You're down 2-minute drives where you have to drop back and pass it and drive the ball on the field. Like, as the rest roster is currently constructed, I'm not how confident I am that they could do that. And with Fields, he has gotten better. If you look at a lot of his numbers, each and every year it's small incremental improvements, which shows coachability. And seems to have a quiet leadership that guys like. Got some decent accuracy, honestly, like down the field in the boundary, but the sacks, man, the sacking, the taking of the sacks, and the propensity he has to fumble when he is sacked, I think are just two weaknesses that, if not significantly improved on, I don't think this offense has the firepower to dig him out if those mistakes, particularly those two areas, are not significantly improved on. I think we could say ground and pound all we want, like it's 2010, but it's just not. It's not 2010. So that would be and that's not to be like negative. I just try to be an honest Jet YouTube channel, right? And I know this time of year we just want to chug all the green Kool-Aid and all positive vibes. So I'll meet you in the middle. I'm in on Coach Glenn. I truly am. I don't know if I'm all the way in. I don't know if I'm in Justin Fields fan club. I don't know if they'd let me in. Although I think, look, who else were you going to sign, right? Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers. The team couldn't even score more points than Andy Dalton last year. So it is what it is. I'm not saying there was a perfect solution out there, but we'll see. I'm not convinced that every part of Justin Fields' game that he struggled with was 100% due to his supporting cast. I'm just not fully convinced of that yet. But he has improved each year, and he's never had good offensive coaching. So, Tanner Engstrand, let's see what you got, man. Yeah, Lazard. The Nick Folk thing, Jets could have won 8 games last year with a solid kicker. Dude, if you swap Nick Folk last year and Greg Z, you're right. That could have been a 3-game swing. I don't deny it. Now, what would that difference would that have made? They still wouldn't have made the playoffs, and they would have had a worse draft pick. But maybe for like morale and vibes and all of that, they could have won, definitely, at least probably if with an average kicker, 2 more games, with a good kicker, probably 3, I would say. Expectations for Cisco in terms of tackles and receptions. I don't know tackles off the top of my head. But picks, I would say he probably leads the team in picks, maybe 3 to 4 picks. How many has he had in his career? Okay, he had 0 picks his rookie year, then 3, then 4, then 1. So I'd maybe put the over under like 2.5. I'll say 3, and 3 is kind of a lot. 3 might be good enough to like be tied for the team lead with somebody else. Yeah, and Nwangwu is Nwangwu is an awesome kick returner. I couldn't figure out a spot for him. Because are they gonna go with again like Boyd between Boyd and Bryant or Boyd, Charles, and Nwangwu? How many just special team guys are they gonna keep? But Nwangwu is definitely the best kick returner on the team, but he doesn't return punts. That's why it's tough. Like, can you roster a guy who just returns kicks but doesn't return punts, doesn't play other roles on special teams, and doesn't really play a position? He's technically a running back, but you'd never want him to be on the field as a running back. So yeah, I might, with the new rules with how much more likely it is for the ball to be returned, maybe. I do like the running back group. I like the running back group a lot as well. Good varied skill sets there. 2 inexperienced offensive tackles does not give me confidence. I mean, my confidence level with the offensive line wouldn't be that. It would just be the depth. Like if Carter Warren has to play left tackle, that would not give me confidence, right? Xavier Newman has to play guard. I mean, that's probably not going to be great. But Fashanu played he got some good work in last year, and he had the 5th lowest pressure rate allowed when he played left tackle. That's pretty good. AG and Muji could be thinking Brees and Mason Taylor will take the majority of the wide receiver 2 load. Yeah. Hopefully Mason Taylor can just jump right in and, catch 55 passes. Wouldn't that be nice? Any run stuffers still in free agency you like? Dude, defensive interior is so picked over, man. It's brutal out there. Edge, there's Clowney and Zadarius Smith. Both of those guys would immediately be, in the rotation and better than guys that we have like Clemens and whoever's behind them. But defensive interior is tough. Tufele, again, like it's just my 2 cents, not to be a jerk. I watched all these guys. I watched Byron Smart and I actually came away pretty encouraged with Byron Cowart. But Tufele looked atrocious to me. I know that whole Cincinnati defense was just a mess last year, so maybe he was just whatever. But Tufele was just like on the ground, like every third rep play. It was bad. It was bad last year. I didn't watch any before that, but yeah, the Jay Tufele tape should come with a warning. Yeah, the cut downs. Where do you think we could add someone on cut downs? I could see edge. I could see tight end, like Noah Fant. Give me Noah Fant. He's mid. Yeah, dude, he's mid. Mid is better than Jeremy Ruckert and Andrew Beck and Stone Smart. It just is. And I actually like Andrew Beck's blocking ability, but Noah Fant would easily minimum be the second best tight end on this team right away. So yeah, I'm cool with him. Smini has the DTs currently ranked Cowart, LT3, Tefele, and lastly Nadi. Okay. I mean, he's at practice, so that's why, like, a lot of times his predictions, honestly, in terms of who's making the team, they'll be better than mine. They will definitely be better than mine because he's there. He gets to see who's running with the 1s and the 2s and the 3s, and that is the most important thing. It's not like who we think is doing well or who we liked as a signing. It's like who are the coaches putting out there with the starters. that is going to be the biggest indication, and Samini's going to have a better idea of that than me. So that's yeah, I would definitely follow what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, Samini in terms of him being negative, all that, sure, but he is at practice. He is at practice every day. So, but I'll leave it there. Quick 53-man roster prediction. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to hit the thumbs up on the way out, that'd be cool. And we'll talk all soon. Go Jets.